My name is David Sonny Morgan. I was born in Auburn, Alabama, December 25th, 1934.
You were a Christmas baby.
One present. Yes.
All right. So you were born in Alabama. And what are your earliest memories as a child?
Well, my parents left Alabama when I was about 3. But I remember when we would drive back, my father would drive back, and he would say, there was no air conditioning cars in those days, and it would be hot. And I wouldn't have no shirt on, no t-shirt or any shirt on. And we get down into Kentucky in that area, and my dad used to say, boy, put that shirt on. And I would ask him, why, He says, boy, he says, these people see these license plates that's Ohio, and they think you're trying to be funny. So you better put that shirt on. So I put the shirt on and continued, and
What did he mean by funny?
well, by him, growing up in the South there, anything that a black person did that the whites didn't like, they would say, well, that guy's trying to be funny, and we want to take care of him if he's being funny. So that's what he meant by being funny. Not ha 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 ha. It's about, they're going against the grain. They ain't supposed to be doing that. Yeah. So.
Absolutely. I've heard that terminology forever.
Thing, when I was small, well, my dad told me, I asked him about how do we get up here, and he says that after each year we get the crop, he says you put it in, get in the wagon, go into town, and go to the store, and whatever it is, the storekeeper says exactly what you owe me, and he gets to go back and he starts doing it again. He says that so one time he got into town and he kept the cotton seeds and went and sold those separately, and got him a can of Prince Albert tobacco, some rolling paper, and he had $5 left. So on the way back home to Trumbull, he had the wagon and the horse, so he stopped and he sat on this tree stump to roll him a cigarette. And as he was doing that, he felt something on the back of his head. And here it is with this white man with a rifle, took his tobacco, his paper, and his $5. And so when he got back to the house, he said he had to leave. So he went to Gary, Indiana first. We had relatives there, left Gary, came to Warren, had relatives here, and that's when he got us up here. And that's why he left Alabama at that time.
Wow, that's a story for ears, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Do you remember your grandparents at all?
Only one I remember is my grandmother, my mother's mother. Her name was Mary. They call her Miss Tank. They had all these funny names. And I remember her when I used to go back and the house we lived in and they lived in, and the things that we used to play in the yard. I remember getting up one day and after I had to go to the bathroom. Well, you got to go outside to this place out there, and
Describe that.
yeah, and
The outhouse, right?
yeah, the outhouse, yeah. And I remember that most every summer we would, when my mother would go, we would get on the train and have these little shoe boxes of lunches with the cold chicken and all that. And at that time, the trains were ran by coal and all that soot come out. We was in the front. But when the trains become diesel, they put us in the back going down there. And we went down there most every summer. And in between, that's when my dad would get in the car and we'd drive down, you know, and I had to stop being funny when I ride down there then. Yeah.
Right, and you had to be careful when you traveled south,
Yeah,
right?
definitely. You had to be. And my dad, you know, I guess the man that he worked for, he always said Mr. Walter. I remember even we were grown and we'd be over the house and talking, he'll say Mr. Walter. I said, Dad, why you keep saying Mr. Walter? You know, that man's gone and, you know, and it was a habit they had to do down there and calling him Mr. Walter, Mr. Walter, you know.
Yes, because you might get lynched
Yep.
for not saying Mr.
That's right. Yeah. So even though after all that, my father passed in 1980. Even just before that, we go down there and things has changed a little bit, but he still was thinking about the days before. Yeah.
So how many siblings did you have?
I was the only boy, and I had 4 sisters, but one of them died when I had to be maybe about 2 years old, something, because the casket was real tiny, and I still can't remember. You know, I was too young to know why she died, and at that time there was no picture of her, and after that my dad kept every picture that he could get a hold of, and the funeral home was on Spring Street. If you know where Davis's shop, you know, the house right in back of that was the funeral home.
Wow, I never heard that one before.
Yeah, and you know, we didn't have that much money, and Dad got the invoice, like $5 for this, and the funeral I think cost $45 or something like that.
Wow.
And also, Congressman Kerwin was a congressman, and he sent a letter from Congress about her death. And,
Wow.
and her name was Helen Marie. Helen Marie, and she would have been the second daughter. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So tell me about your parents. What line of work were they in? What did they do, career-wise?
Well, my dad, when he first came here, he worked at out at Ravenna Arsenal. He worked there for a while, and then he got a job down at the Republic Steel, the Coke plant on Main Street, and he worked there. That's for his term there.
Okay, like my grandfathers, both of my grandfathers worked there, my uncles.
Yeah,
My dad.
Yeah, your dad worked with him at the Coke plant there, and my mother, she was a housewife, and she worked for some people, as they say, out in Perkinswood, and they used to walk up. We lived down on Fulton Street, and they called that the Flats, and.
Why did they call that the Flats?
Well, you know, I never knew why, because it could not have been because of blacks, because when we were living down there, a lot of Greeks lived there, because up on the corner of Pine and Fulton was a Greek coffee house. They had Greek coffee houses all around there, and matter of fact, our neighbors was Peter Panagis that used to came to be the judge, and his and I remember his family, Peter, Jimmy, Mary, and all their family used to live next together, and that Greek church used to be on Clinton Street. It was a wooden big church, but you know they got their money together, and you know where they're at now up on High Street. But that used to be as I was young, as I told immigrant Greeks when they came over. That's, a lot of them lived down in that area. And why it's called the Flats, I really don't know.
So did the Greeks and the blacks intermingle, or was there prejudice involved
Well, you know,
there?
we didn't know if it was prejudice, but, you know, there wasn't any, you know, well, like the Pinellas next door, you know, we talked, but they wasn't playing outside and stuff like that, you know, but we knew who, you know, they were. And on Pine Street, you had a Greek grocery store every corner and in between, every corner in between. You had Greek grocery stores.
So did black people shop at those grocery stores?
That's the only place you had to go.
Oh.
And way later on, down on the further end of Fulton Street, Mr. Roy, he opened up a little grocery store, a little small one. And when the Greeks started moving out of there, he came up on Pine Street and tried to get a bigger store.
Mr. Roy, he was a black man?
Yeah.
What was his last name?
You know, that's all we knew was Mr. Roy. Mr. Roy, yeah. And also, at that particular time, you had Johnson Cleaners. Well, when the Greeks moved out, when most of the Greeks moved out, the buildings that they left there, you know, one of them became a pool room. Johnson Cleaners became up between Clinton and Dawson Street, Johnson Cleaners. And in that area, he was the one that hired the most blacks at that time, because I'm not talking about factories, I'm just talking about the business people there. You know, he had trucks, pick up your clothes and bring them in and bring them back. So then we had maybe about 3 restaurants down there at that time.
Was Mr. Caper's gas station down there somewhere?
Yeah, that was on the corner of Clinton and Pine, where the old folks used to go sit on pop cases and tell stories and drink Old Crow.
What's Old Crow?
That's some kind of bourbon liquor.
Oh, okay.
And I can never understand is they drink and they frown. You know what I'm saying? If you drink it, so why are you frowning? You
It should make you happy, huh?
Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, he had the gas station there, and there was quite a few business until the flood came, you know, and took the things away.
So what do you remember about that flood?
Well, when the flood came out, I was in the service.
Oh, okay. You weren't living here then.
No, I got pictures of it and when I came back. My parents, they had moved over, even before the flood, they had moved over on Highland Avenue and close to 4th. There was
Oh, of course. You know I know that house.
yeah.
The Morgan house.
That store, there was a store next door, and that belonged to the Piavolas too.
So when your parents moved in that house on Highland, there were still probably a lot of Caucasians in the neighborhood, right?
Well, I was still in the service when they moved over there. So when I got back, you know, I never did. No, they mostly hadn't moved. It seems like there was a few families stranded over there, but it wasn't like it was before. Yeah, like when I went to First Street School. It was mostly white. You had very few black families living on the west side at that time.
So do you remember my mom attending First Street when you were there? Because I think she would have been there when you were there.
No, because I don't think, I'm trying to think where they lived at that time.
In the flats by Paul Warfield.
Well, that was the bottom.
So the flats and the bottoms, that's 2 different things?
Yeah.
Oh, see, I thought they were the same.
No, the flats was like Dawson, Clinton, Fulton, Walnut,
Okay.
Yeah, and then
Like around the corner
then below
from the bottom.
By the mill, if you go down there, you had Roanoke, Cedar, and all that. That was called the bottom.
Because it was closer to the steel mill.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Thank you for
and the city dump.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for pointing that out to me because I was thinking that they were the same.
No, they called that the bottom, and above the mill they called the flats. Yeah.
Okay. So you attended First Street Elementary. Did you ever have any black teachers?
No.
All right. And so you go to Harding High School. Weren't you an athlete?
No. Oh, I played baseball for Harding. That's what I played. Yeah.
I thought you were an athlete.
Yeah, I played baseball.
Oh, so they allowed black kids to play baseball then?
Yep, but we didn't have that. I think it was me and Philip Reed. I think we only had like about 3 of us who played on baseball. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So when was the first time you encountered racism that you can remember?
When I was in junior high.
Was that at East Junior?
No, Central.
Oh, okay.
Central Junior High. Our nickname was the Downtowners because it was on Monroe and Harmon Street there, and we used to brag about that we were the only school that had 3 buildings. We had the main building, then we had a barn for our gym, and you had to go out and put coal in it and fire to warm it up. Yeah. So yeah, the racism is that they had at Central they had a program that for every extra activity that you belong in, that you got points or whatever like that, and then in graduation, whoever was who was the most extra activity things, they got recognition as black. So I was in a lot of things. I was in music. I was in athletics. And then when come time for graduation, they stopped giving it out. They didn't give it to.
Because you probably would have got one of the highest recognitions.
Well, yeah, I thought I'm waiting to get it there, Then they said, well, we're not doing it this year. So yeah.
Did you play a musical instrument?
I tell you, listen to the radio. The violin was the beautiful music, So I says, I'm gonna play it. So junior high, they gives you a violin like that, and so the lessons. So I'm coming home with it. Coming down Fulton Street, and the guy said, "Look at that sissy with the violin." And you know what I did?
What?
Turn that violin in.
Oh my goodness. Peer pressure.
Right. So that was the end of my music career.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. But you've always had a love of music.
Well, I like music. I can't play it, I can't sing, but I love music, though, to hear it. And, yeah.
So you said you listened to the radio. So, like, what radio stations were there, or what type of music did you listen to other than violin?
Well, you had, at night, you had...
Randy's?
You had Randy's. You had...
that was out of Tennessee, right?
Right. And then you had Moondog out of Cleveland. And you listened to that...
they were playing rock and roll, right?
Right. Well,
and
a lot of blues, too. I mean, they
some rhythm and blues.
Rhythm and blues is what black folks had. But the whites changed it to rock and roll, that type of thing, to say that they were
right
that started it.
Because we had Little Richard and Bo Diddley and
right, and and then those were the two stations, and then we didn't have television like when Joe Louis was fighting. We had to listen to the radio and that type of thing.
So do you remember listening to that broadcast when Joe Louis fought the Max Schmeling? Was that the
No,
proper
it was,
name?
I don't think of them, but I remember one. I can't remember. It was in had to be in '53 or '54.
Mm-hmm.
There was a championship fight, and we thought that he was losing, on the radio, but it did win.
And so, like, the whole family is just like sitting around listening to it.
Yeah, sitting around. Yeah, that's what happened in those days when you didn't have television. Yeah.
So, what did you do? Let's say during your teenage years to have fun. Like, did you all go to the playground? Did you play? I'm assuming you played baseball. Did you ride bikes? How did you have fun as a youth?
Well, like we started a club of us young. We was young, 9, 10 or something, of guys that lived down in the flats, and we used to call ourselves the Lucky Nine, the Wrens, and what we did is we would go to the community house. Now the community house used to be on Pine Street, and after they moved from Pine Street, we moved down to Main Street where the building was down there, and so that's what we did, and we played baseball. The city had a league for us, and we used to play baseball, and as time grew, like I said, there was maybe about 9 or 10 we had, and we did a lot of activities to raise money. Bought ourselves jackets, brown jacket that says Lucky Nine, and then as time went on, we became the Wrens, the Rams, or whatever. And then when we came about 17, we formed the Browns Club. And what we used to do is we got it from the community house, where Joe Reed was our sponsor.
Mm-hmm.
So what we did, we started having dances and stuff to raise money. We used to have a contest for the Brown Sweetheart. Whoever raised most money for this was we crowned them as a Brown Sweetheart, and had a banquet and stuff for them like that. So we got enough to rent a building, and so we rented this building. We were still just out of high school.
That's impressive.
Yeah, we rented the building. It was.
Who were some of the members in the Lucky Nine, if you could recall?
We were the Browns now.
Oh, the Browns.
We were the Browns Club now.
Okay.
It was Philip Reed, William Reed, Toppy Brown, Robert Bradley, myself, Billy McCorkle, and Thomas Jenkins, Art Cofield, yeah, and
Well, your memory is pretty good.
Pardon?
I said your memory is pretty good.
Yeah, so yeah, we had that for, and then I went to the service, in 1959.
So this is right after high school graduation. You went straight into the service?
No, this is about 4 years after that.
So did you go to college first, then you went into the military? Or you went into the military first?
I went to college for a couple of years prior to military.
And where did you attend?
I went down to Miami, Ohio for a couple of years.
So how did you select that school?
At that time they had these people come up to high school. They'd be in the hallway. They got this, So I just went and picked that one.
I mean, because I don't know of any people of color that went to Miami University, especially in the 50s. I mean,
Well,
in my day, yes, but I mean, were there very many African Americans on that campus when you were there?
no.
You could probably count them on like two hands, I bet.
Right, right. And they, the student center there, we all was in a corner playing cards or whatever it's like that, you know. At that particular time, I think there was maybe about 20,000 students on the campus there, and I don't think there was 50 black. But
Were you treated fairly?
pardon?
Were you treated fairly?
Yeah. It was, and then right next door was the Western College for Women. There was just the women's college there, and they had two black guys whose football team started the football team. And then the next year, here come this big dude down there. I'm telling you, he was huge, and I thought he was a football player. But it wasn't. It was Wayne Embry who was big.
Oh, coach the Cavs, right?
Right. That's
The Cavaliers,
he was a
NBA.
basketball player. Wayne Embry, yeah, he came down, yeah. So, and the football coach was from Akron, Eric Parsegian. He was from Akron,
Heard that name
Yeah.
before.
and Johnny Pont. They were all up from the north. Yeah, but.
And so you joined the military. Where were you stationed?
I was in Bamberg, Germany, but I took my basic training down in Fort Benning, Georgia. But when we went overseas, it was in Bamberg, Germany.
So tell me about that experience. What was that like going overseas, coming from Warren, Ohio?
Well, going over on that, I don't like water. Going over on that boat, oh my gosh. And when I saw all those people and jeeps, tanks, I said, how's this thing gonna stay up? You know, and I volunteered to stay down because I just, oh my God.
So this is the Navy, I'm assuming?
Pardon?
This is the Navy,
No,
I'm assuming?
No, this is the Army.
Oh, Army.
We had when we went overseas, it was this big boat. And so I stayed down there for 3 days, and they made me go up top. I got up there and all this water, man, I got sick of all this water. Oh man, it took us about 14 days to get over there. Because they played a lot of games, you know, they'll say, man overboard, man, then exercise in the boat, have to do some things like that. Yeah, so when I got over there, you know, it blacks went one bars and side of town, white went to another one.
This is in Germany.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the German people used to come up and say, let me see your tail, let me see your tail. And what do you mean? And, and they called the white guys cheeseburgers, and said the cheeseburgers say, you got tails, you know. So it was a confrontation over there, you know, like here, you know.
So the military, it was somewhat segregated then?
No.
Oh,
no,
they had integrated by then.
This is just the guys in there, and at that time, you know, a lot of Southern guys, because they didn't. I guess because they didn't have good paying jobs in the South, that they all, you know, military, you know. And you find a lot of your bases are was in the South. You know? Yeah,
And so after you left the military, you came back to Warren.
Yeah.
And you got a job where?
No, I went back to Packard. Like I say, I was in Miami 2 years. Went back to Packard, and then I got drafted while I was at Packard. So when I came back, you know, my job was still there.
Oh my goodness, I didn't know that you were drafted.
Yeah, travel. Yeah.
I didn't know that they could draft you and you would have to go if you were working at a good job like at Packard Electric.
Yeah, I got drafted from there.
Wow. Okay, so
When I got out, you're supposed to, you have 2 years of active reserve, and then 2 years of inactive reserve. So when I got out in, I went in November of '57, got out in November of '59. And so in 1960, I'm supposed to, where that winery is now. Okay, it used to be Army thing there where training used to be there, and that's where I was supposed to go for my active duty reserve. And they had to go to camp for 2 weeks, and somehow I missed that. I didn't go. And then, like all end of July, I get this letter from the Army. It's sending me back because I missed that, it's sending me back to the service for 45 days.
wow.
So I had to catch the train, go to Fort Knox, get there, go through the same thing, and they had me, my job when I got there was new recruits coming in, show them around, take them places, get their shots, So after my 45 days, I come back home. But during that 45 days, Terry Lynn was born, August 16th, 1960. And as I say, I was working at Packard.
What year